Hey, Randy.
How you doing, Bridget? How you doing?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Doing great, man. You're being recorded for JamaicaRadio.com, my brother.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity.
All right, so now we met online from you watching the videos that I've uploaded, and I'm going to ask you some questions so you could get the people familiar with who you are, what you're about. We're going to take it in nice little steps because you have a powerful story. And we spoke earlier, but in short steps, this man is called Big Heart. He's a Jamaican professional that's lived in what state and how long in the U.S.?
I'm currently in West Virginia, about an hour and a half from Washington, D.C. I work in Washington, D.C. I've been in this state for about 4 months, but prior to that, lived in Washington, D.C. for 10 years, a year in Boston, a year in Atlanta, lived in Baltimore for 13 years where I went to school, and born and raised in Brooklyn, New York.
No, Big Heart. Why you call yourself Big Heart?
Well, just because some of the things that I've done and that I actually do in terms of the community. Won my company's community service award a few years ago. Contributed money to Ethiopian sister cities. Sponsored 2 little boys out there. Paid their school fees, uniform, things of that nature, and worked in capacity here in the community in Montgomery County, Maryland, addressing healthcare disparities for African Americans, working with a healthcare program, which is kind of related to the work that I do. It's just a lot of things that I do just from my heart, so, and I'm a big guy, former football player, so big heart. There it is.
Now, you're Jamaican. How did that come about? Tell us about that.
Sure. My mother is Jamaican, from Kingston, Jamaica. She passed away in '94. And Jamaica has a law that allows people to, that allows people that have at least one parent or one grandparent that is a Jamaican to their offspring are entitled to Jamaican citizenship. So I took advantage of that law and applied for citizenship, which I'm now naturalized Jamaican with dual citizenship with the United States, as well as a passport holder, a Jamaican passport holder as well. The process for that, of course, is you have to, the PICA, which is the Passport and Immigration Citizenship Agency of Jamaica, requires that you prove yourself related, having a Jamaican parent. So in my case, what I did, I had to go down to Jamaica to RGD to retrieve my mother's passport. Again, she passed away 24 years ago. And once I retrieved my mother's birth certificate, and once I picked up her birth certificate, I could then apply using my birth certificate, showing that that is my mother. And with her birth certificate, at that point, I lived not too far from the D.C., the Jamaican embassy in D.C., and I applied for citizenship, only about $100. Took about 6 weeks, and after 6 weeks, I went back to the embassy in D.C., and they gave me a certificate, 8.5 by 17 certificate of naturalization that said I am a citizen of Jamaica.
Now, we're going to go back in time a little bit. You, at what age, start learning about Jamaica, the passion for going back? And why are we talking? What did you see on YouTube that led us to make this connection?
Sure. So just a little bit more background in terms of me. I used to go to Jamaica every summer as a child, starting at the age of 4. So I was pretty familiar with the country with a child's eyes. After I became an adolescent, I decided to stop going, wanted to spend more summers in Jamaica. And 1 year led to 30 years, so I hadn't been to Jamaica in that long. However, prior to that, during my sojourns, I was previously married to a woman from Kenya. We met here, got married, and wanted to go back to Kenya to meet the rest of her family. And wound up going to the capital city, Nairobi, and then ultimately into Western Kenya near Lake Victoria, into a very rural area. And out there, I just saw large swaths of land that was uncultivated, uninhabited. You know, Africa has this thing where a lot of the young people are abandoning the rural areas to move to the cities. And I just saw it as a real possible opportunity to purchase an acre of land at that point. They wanted to sell it to me for $500. And I just thought in my mind, you know, with Western resources, with first world resources, you can do a lot of things in so-called third world areas. So, you know, that just got my mind to working like, you know, what are the possibilities if I can purchase land in a black country? You know, I see, and I had friends that were immigrants that were building houses back home and then saw people living better lives once they went back home and thought that that was something that would work for me. At that point, the marriage was dissolved subsequently and the land deal never came through, but I always had this vision in my mind that I wanted to own land somewhere in Africa, somewhere in the Caribbean. Jamaica didn't even cross my mind at that point. But ultimately, you know, I had a lot of conversations with my aunt who lives in South Carolina. She has 2 acres of land. I have an acre of land here in West Virginia. We had the same vision of this farm thing and, you know, self-sustaining living and, you know, being able to provide the basics of life for ourselves, which is just the gist of our conversations. And ultimately, she had a conversation with my grandfather who was rambling. He's Jamaican. And he was like, oh, you want land? We have a whole bunch of land in Jamaica, in Westmoreland. If you want to go and claim it, it's yours. So that was June of 2016. By September of 2016, I was in Jamaica to investigate the land and see what the opportunities are. Now, again, that was my first time in 30 years. And ultimately, that's what led to my current venture into going into Jamaica. And what we possibly plan to do with the land is farm, build some type of structure on it, and plant as well. And, you know, just a lot of other things that happened to me going to Jamaica, and I go every 3 months now.
Wow. So this is wow, that's quite a journey. How did yeah, that's quite a journey. How did the YouTube video tie into all of this?
Oh, my apologies about that one. When I saw your video, the video in which you had the plate of food, I think it was breakfast food. There was like some breadfruit on it, some cabbage, some other stuff on there. And then you were talking to the gentleman and you were asking him, all this food came from your land? And he was like, yeah, you know, and, you know, as he kept talking, he was talking about, oh, I used to live in America. I used to live in Brooklyn. I know the Bronx. I know Connecticut, all of that. I was like, what this guy is doing in Jamaica is exactly what I'm trying to do. So immediately, you know, once I saw that, I was trying to, what I did is I actually sent the link to everyone in Jamaica that knew me, that knew why I was actually going to Jamaica, because, you know, they kind of think they don't think it's practical what I'm doing. They kind of think it's crazy. Like, why would you want to come to Jamaica and do that when we all trying to get to America, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, seeing somebody that actually done what I'm trying to do was definitely inspirational to what I'm doing, and it validated what I was doing. And I actually found somebody out there that is doing what I've already done. And then watching your other videos, I was very motivated as well along those lines.
Now, you're how old now?
I'm 43 since last February.
Tell us about your academical development. Tell us about that.
Well, graduated from New York City Public School, 1993. Went to Morgan State University in Baltimore. Studied accounting there from 93 to 97. Never actually worked in my field, but I owned a bakery for about 8 years, and then ultimately found myself in the insurance field. Working, I'm a health insurance producer, been with the same company for 13 years.
Well, you have a very powerful story, well-rounded life. Now, are you married? What's the next step? How are you going to create this farm or this transition? You'd have a lot of potential women calling me and say, "Hey, Ronnie, can I meet Big Heart? Is his heart really big?"
Right. Well, like I said, I'm a free agent. I was married previously, and for any man to be married is a big deal. When I was married, it seemed like a big up in life because a lot of people, they just treat, as a married man, they just treat you differently. And there's a lot of respect that goes with that, a lot of responsibility. And, as far as the next step is concerned, I'm a very cautious, very patient, very loving person. And, if I meet somebody, I meet somebody at this point, Don't have a problem meeting anybody, but, just definitely be careful in this world.
Let me tell you, my show is going to turn out to be a dating game because we find a lot of people with challenge in America who are well-rounded and good people, but they're finding a really challenging experience trying to find that special one. But you sound like a really powerful, well-put-together guy. No.
Well, yeah, this on that we were talking before, and I was saying that there are challenges, but for black men, there's no wiggle room. You kind of have to. You're really forced to have your life together. There's this. Women are not going to cut us slack. Other people are not going to cut us slack. So we have 10 times more the burden to make sure we do what we are supposed to do in life, to make sure we have the things that we need.
What are the steps? You have the land. What are your steps in developing your farm? Is it what are you trying to achieve in the next 5 years?
Well, in the next 5 years, it's several pronged, right? So, in my experience, you have one. I have to get acclimated to Jamaica. What does that mean to be this American, very American sounding guy? I could talk patois, whatever. It's not, and I get laughed at. But what is my existence as an American in Jamaica? That from a cultural, social standpoint, that is further developing by putting a network together. So part of the things there is I've already engaged the community through my community experience here. I know you kind of have to find out who's who and who does what in the community. So I've linked up with a counselor there who is politically in one of the political parties there. And it actually has several conversations with several counselors of the party there, and working to see what can be done in the community. I've made several charitable donations as far as that is concerned, and sponsored a high school who has an agricultural program. I was able to purchase a water tank and promise them to deliver aquaponics equipment as well as greenhouse equipment to kind of show this whole sustainable living that's going on this side. You see in New York, everybody has rooftop gardens. They have all of these little things. And you were mentioning to the guys, if you're living in the city, you should have a garden at least. There's nothing in Jamaica where you have 365 days a year of sun. You have a season all to yourself. You don't have to, like now in America, if you live in the Northeast, you have to plant this time of year. in order to make sure everything has sprouted in September. But what you want to do there in Jamaica is, because you have the 365 days of sun, why not plant something? Why not at least address what are the three main things that you need in your life: food, clothes, and shelter? You can at least get the food out the way and then work on the clothes and shelter, and all of that can come from the ground. So this whole sustainable living thing, I think that's something that can be brought to the island. I had a little extra spending money, so I donated that. And these are things that are low-hanging fruit, obtainable things. It's nothing, costs you nothing to go talk to a counselor. Hey, what needs to be done in the community? You'd be surprised. $300-400 can cover something, make them look good. They big you up in their network. So that's, again, on a social scale, that's something that I'm trying to do. Secondly, as far as the land is concerned, there are a few tax things related to the land that I'm trying to work through in order to get documented. But in the meantime, I worked on the citizenship, the passport, and I also have a tax registration number, so an official Jamaican tax registration number. So I made sure myself, I am set legally so I can deal in Jamaica on a legal basis with the tax ID, with the citizenship. So so if I go into any agency to deal with the land, if I go to the attorney, if I go to the tax office to square everything away, there's not a problem. I am a Jamaican. There's no dispute here. So on a legal scale, I'm set. But on the other side, we have to take care of the paperwork. And once that's done, we can move forward with bigger plans. But right now, what we do is we are actually having the land cleared. We have part of the land cleared. It's about 20 acres. We have part of it cleared. And ultimately, this year, what we want to do is we want to build a structure. It'll probably be a board house, but it'd be something just to put there to kind of say, hey, we're here, and to get people used to seeing people there. And then ultimately, we want to put some livestock, purchase some cows, and then plant some things. Right now, in another area, we have about 100 chickens, and when I go there in April, we're looking to expand that to about 400 chickens. And then there's the long-term strategy is ultimately trying to build a bigger structure so I can ultimately retire, because I have about 10 more years at my job before I can retire. So I think that's something that's manageable, and again, low-hanging fruit, something I can actually work on and be focused on, and look forward to retiring in the country, in the bush, just like you. I definitely like that video.
All right, I'm listening to you, and I'm hearing what you're saying, but I'm seeing something different, and just hear me out. There are a lot of Jamaicans out there who are looking for leadership. When I'm listening to you, what I'm hearing is leadership. You have great quality for leadership. What I've been thinking about for many years is, what if I could find people who could be trustworthy and create these massive GoFundMe campaign with other trustworthy people around after I've launched a radio network, and we start raising some money for a certain venture. And talking to you and hearing you, I would send you $100 for whatever venture we could work together on, because here's what I'm saying. 10 years to retire is great. But what if 100,000 people hear our conversation and we pick out 20,000 of them, say, you know what? Let's come together and build a company and buy a piece of land, or let's really start seeing if we could do this sustainable living as a new lifestyle for Jamaicans abroad. Now that Brandy and Big Heart and other people who are going to come after they hear this conversation, how can we now, with your leadership, and I'm not saying I'm appointing you, but I do think that with your credentials and our reach now, the more I meet people after they're watching my videos, the more apparent that we need to work closely as a unit, even though we haven't yet developed any kind of relationship to create a trust partnership. But hearing you, I'm hearing something bigger, which has to somehow manifest, because you working alone on your 20 acres and your ventures,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to create that challenge that we've always had as a people, us working alone to accomplish, you know?
Right.
So what do you I mean, I know it's far-fetched for me to even think like this, but I know that there are going to be other Jamaicans I'm going to interview just like you that wants to do something bigger than for self.
Right.
To create a blueprint, I had a simple idea at one point, because I'm a simple thinker. You know, I said to my friend from different parts of the country, I said, I want to get a Trini, a Bayesian, a Jamaican, and a Haitian. I want to get 8 people with $8,000 to buy 8 acres in Africa. I want to start to develop 8 kind of business around that octagon. I had that idea. Where can I find these people with $1,000 a pop? And we could build an octagon in Jamaica, one in Africa, and so forth and so on. That's what I'm talking about. I want to think more community. Your venture is yours. But do you understand that you could easily run for office in Jamaica and get the support virtually, as this we spoke earlier about the diaspora, where we could really. I want to make change in the country. How do we? Did you hear what I'm saying?
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. And I you know, well, one thing for sure. And what DC is the largest African immigrant population in the country. You know, there's so many different Africans from different countries that live in that DC area between Maryland, DC, and Virginia. One thing I would note, especially with the Nigerians, they and the Ethiopians, as a diaspora, they actually have a voice in the country. And that voice has a say in the affairs of the country. And politicians that run for offices, so say, for instance, Kenya, there's a large Kenyan diaspora community. Politicians from Kenya, presidential candidates, come and they give an audience to the diasporans. So the diasporans are taken seriously by the government and anybody that wants to do any type of maneuvering in the country. And that is something I don't see. Maybe I'm not tuned into the Jamaican diaspora, but I from my observations, I haven't seen anything like that. And something as simple as I found it so easy to link up with counselors who are locally appointed, or I believe they are elected in these areas, and these are regular people. And linking up with a counselor or somebody to kind of bridge that gap and say, hey, we want to put issues on the table that the diasporans care about, and we want to, we just want to link the diasporans with the current movers and shakers on the political scale and try to see if they can get power. One thing I see that is lacking, as a citizen of Jamaica, I'm not able to vote. So I can't get a voter's card unless I'm living in Jamaica for a certain period of time throughout the year. So if you actually give the diasporans, doesn't necessarily have to be voting power, but it's a start. You have a country that has nearly 3 million people in population, and the last number that I saw for Jamaicans externally, diasporans, there are about 2 million Jamaicans. So you have 5 million globally, and 2 million don't even live in the country. That's a political base within itself. And something locally there in Manchester, where your family is, just linking up with a counselor, again, who are normal people, regular, everyday people, and on a political scale, definitely. I think that's low-hanging fruit. That's something that can easily be done. I've had audience with 3 counselors so far, and with anybody, with anything that you do, remember, you always have to remember what's in it for me. Don't feel bad about it. Say, look, what are your needs? and what are my needs. And if you are a big heart like me, you would meet their needs first so they can know you're serious. And then once you take a step towards them, they'll take 2 steps towards you. And on a large scale, a big scale, politically, that is definitely something that can be done in a relatively short time. What do you think?
Now, if you could raise $20,000, what would you use that money for?
It would probably be divided up and you're talking about on a higher scale, not a personal scale, right?
Both, because in order for you to create a blueprint of success for others to follow, I'm not saying we're here to raise money, but, I'm tired of working in silo,
Right. Right.
It's getting to the point whenever I find smart Jamaicans, I'm at the point where, okay, I have some money. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
I'm at the age of we.
Mm-hmm.
Because I understand that all other systems, everything successful in any part of business in the world, it's done with a we, And the I have a dream is we have to have a similar dream. And
Exactly.
I know I'm going back to create this eco-friendly environment, self-sustainable living, but my contribution is to teach people how to use media to profit locally and have different business ideas. And that's why I ask you, you with your experience, because more and more I talk to you or just hearing you, we need better candidates in Jamaica, where we could vote someone like you in to represent us here abroad and take this money we're going to give you to build something where we could see tangible results, whether it's in the ghetto. We need more people like you to invest in that has the big heart and the right focus and the transparency. That's what I'm hearing more than anything else. I would back you. Do you think you would run for office or anything?
No, because the real power doesn't lie with the politicians. The real power lies with those who give the money to the politicians. Hence, the reason why I sponsor those things, those interests of the politicians. Meaning, the politicians don't move without the money, right? So we see it here in America. We know that there are larger corporations, even on a local level, which I've worked. Politicians move to those who make the donations, and you have to speak with your dollars. So you can start with the $20,000, right? You can split that up, right? You can enhance a platform that you're trying to build in terms of bringing people together and doing meaningful things. So some type of, because what you have to do is you have to build the channel. So you want to go from silos to avenues that can get you to the community thing. So you have to build an association, and you have the right platform with what you're doing, web-based, having people bring in their different ideas. Now you have to make that tangible and make it sustainable, make that become an actual vehicle, and that requires salesmanship. You have to kind of sell people like, hey, this is something where you can come and it can make a difference. If you have an inkling that you want to go back home, here is a resource, and this is where you come in and building a viable platform and say, hey, I have this thing here, I have this community here. You can come, and this is a real way to be able to get back into the country if that's what you really want to do. Enhance your platform. Secondly, the other item that you should probably do is find existing programs. Again, there are things out there that exist that require funding, right? So just a story that came out last week where the Sandals Hotels gave $3 million in seeds to farmers to plant potatoes, and the Sandals will be the exclusive purchaser from those 3 farmers to get the potatoes, purchase the potatoes from. So what you would ultimately have to do is find the existing program. Sandals found those guys, and they are able to reap the benefits of that investment. What we have to do, like I found with the high school and their agricultural program, it costs nothing for a greenhouse to be sent over. It costs nothing to replace a water tank, costs nothing to send seeds over. Anything, $200-300 will make a difference. And again, this is money. It has to be focused money. It can't be money that goes towards buying credits and red bottoms and iPhones for people. You really have to put it towards things that are bigger. So again, you want to go down the existing program. There are a lot of things that go on that people, you go to the school, go to the counselor, let them tell you what's going on. Maybe it's something that you want to invest in a school or something like that. But you have to find those avenues, and politicians are a great way to find where that money should go. And then the rest of the money, will be an overhead cost or whatever have you. But that should keep your hands full in terms of building the network, building the association, enhancing your platform, and then investing. Don't recreate the wheel. I get to these organizations, and one person sees what one organization is doing. They say, I'm going to start my own organization. Deal with existing things.
Now, that was kind of a trick question because I wanted to have the audience hear your mind. I interview people for many reasons. I interview people to bring other people on board. I'm a thinker, and I know that Jamaicans are out there that could change the country. I've met some of them, and I've been waiting to build this platform to attract those thinkers so we could have this kind of a panel discussion over and over and over and over until we get some practical ideas to kind of move the country forward. It's been in a standstill for too long. I think we coming abroad in our individual professions and acquiring certain knowledge and skills, it's time for us, and I think virtually was the perfect opportunity to build this new council, this brilliant mind council, this think tank that I'm always thinking that exists among my fellow Jamaicans abroad and in Jamaica, not just to hear ourselves sound smart, but to actually, I like your plan. You get the land, you clear it, you get 100 chicken, and next year another 100 chicken. I'm a similar thinker. I want car tires in front of every house in Kingston. I want people in Kingston to be having bought a system with the farmers in the country. I want tax incentive for callaloo planting, or how much breadfruit tree you have in your yard. I want simple. I'm seeing simple things for a complex problem that would put us back on good footing, and with the minds like yours and mine, I think us actually implementing, these things is a way we lead by example. And so this show is a law of attraction. It's a sound of attraction where those who are hearing us know that these guys, we are boots on the ground, Yeah. And tell me a little bit about your African and your global experience.
Well, yeah, my observation, my interest is really the black world. So whether it's Africa, whether it's Caribbean, whether it's Afro-Latino, Afro-Brazilian, African-American, just try to observe the world from a black point of view. People may not agree that they're African, they might not agree with, but we're all black. So, there's a lot of common things that go on. The current trend right now is you have a big migration of people that are leaving the rural areas to go into the cities. And in a lot of these situations, you have a lot of people that are leaving dozens of acres of land, and fertile land. You just drop a seed, it'll sprout in 6 months. To go and live in the city, to live in slums, to get menial jobs. So, they're making like $5 to $20 a week just to live in a slum when they're leaving places that are like akin to paradise. So they're going to these cities to get money, to get the resources that could be gotten from the land. So from my vision as, Black people around the world, we're just consumers, and we're not getting back to the place that actually sustains us, that actually grows the things that sustains life. Food, clothing, and shelter, that's all you need. And all of that can come from the land. If you have clay land, you can make bricks. If you have wood, you have your lumber. Your food comes from the land. You have cotton, silk, all of that comes from the land. And there's no reason for any Black country in the world, for the most part. We all live in tropical places that produce food and produce from the land all year round. There's no reason that we can't, at the very least, supply the things, the basics of life. And then, if at the end of the day you don't really care about the basic life, you just want nice clothes, then that's another story. But just the basics of life, we should at least produce for ourselves.
Makes a lot of sense. Your timing on your venture, at 5 years, you have a 5-year plan. Do you feel happy, excited, fearful? What are some of the emotions you go through, or the challenges among family or friends? What are some of your everyday mental struggles, spiritual struggles? This is a big undertaking, leaving a corporate to grow chickens, not just to reduce it to that. But it's just people in corporate would say, yeah, he's going to leave his big job to grow chickens. What an idiot. Talk to us.
Well, I mean, for me, it's you have to go with what works. So, yeah, I talk about the chickens and stuff like that, but when you come in with fresh eyes, there are so many possibilities in Jamaica, and you see the Chinese are taking advantage of those opportunities. One thing that I also see, there's an opportunity for. And again, I'm talking about low-hanging fruit, couple $100 at a time. I'm trying to build like a low-scale construction company. So recently I took down table saw, buffer, and working on some other construction equipment, low-scale drills, chainsaws, things of that nature, something the other gentleman was talking about. We've got first world resources. You have a lot of these things that are pawn shops that people kind of give away, and they're kind of like almost brand new, maybe used once or twice. People decide they don't want to use them anymore, and when they clear in their closet, they put these things in pawn shops, things that, people really can use. One thing I've discovered, visiting where I go to in Westmoreland often is, country guys, they're jacks of all trades. Like, they can do auto work, they can do carpentry, they can do plumbing. The one time the lights went out, guys went up on the line and did electrical work in his flip-flops. I was like, wow. So these guys, but they have to borrow equipment to do this, that, and the third. And if you're able to, supply them with construction equipment, something like that, that is an opportunity. There are opportunities in a lot of areas. And one thing I feel like, if you do it right, if you don't try to cut corners, and that's what that's one of the obstacles with my family is that, they're like, no, just go and take the land. I'm like, no, let's get the paperwork going. I got the money. Don't worry about that. Let's stop cutting corners. Let's do things the right way. And if we get the paperwork on the land, we have no problem. Because if somebody wants to come buy the land, we can sell it because we have the paperwork. So, one of the obstacles is just showing them like, hey, just let me do these things a little bit at a time. Yeah, chickens are not the whole thing, but it's part of it. We sustain ourselves, and it's a business. Like I said, if you grow 50 chickens, 25 chickens is the equivalent of about $100 plus the feed and all of that stuff. But $100 a month after a year, that's $1,200. You up to 500 chickens, and then you're looking at an industrial scale. One thing about what I observe and keeps me positive is that a lot of African immigrant communities kind of have it right, and that their dollars are very focused as far as they're very home focused. So it's like, I'm going to work here. I'm going to be a CNA and be a security guard. I'm going to work in this parking lot. I'm going to eat my own food every day. I'm not going to McDonald's, not going to spend no money, not buying no clothes and nothing like that. I'm going to save as much money as I can and focus it directly back home. And, so they're starting off small. Then, those fields that I talked to you about, Rondi, they're not high-paying fields, but they somehow make those things work, and they're actually able to be successful. And with the Spanish people, a lot of them, I hear a lot of Spanish people from Central America, Mexico, Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, all of those places. They're like, I'm going back home. I built my house. I built my little shop. And these guys are cleaning toilets, So the other African immigrant communities are showing us what can be done on a big scale with small money. And that's the kind of thing that I focus on for myself. It's like, just go for the low-hanging fruit, as I say, in life. Get what you can get, do what you can do today, and, if you keep the big dream, then that'll be okay. Like, I don't expect to retire in Jamaica tomorrow. I wouldn't be able to provide the things. If I do get married and I want to build a nice tiled-up bathroom like yours, Rodney, I can't do that tomorrow, but in 10 years, if I start today, I can. So that's the type of foresight that you normally don't practice. But sorry about that.
No problem. So now, here's one thing I'm learning as I speak to you, and as I go on this journey myself. A woman is pivotal, critical, crucial. And the challenge we have as alpha male, sometimes we just have to do things and people will follow along, because the path we're about to embark on is the path less traveled. People are going towards the city, we're going towards the bush. And I would recommend that I said to myself, I've been looking for this woman who really understands that the bush has so much amazing value. And but what I find that we have to be cognizant of is maybe we do need to really build this amazing bathroom, to entice our future mate to go back to this lifestyle of the disconnect. Talk on that. I think you have to change your strategy and really start focusing on a massive, amazing because wherever there's a beautiful marble bathroom with running water and warm water, you'll find a woman. She'll entertain your bush life. What do you think about that?
Yeah, and as I said before, the vivid country life that I'm thinking about. Yeah, you definitely have to consider your woman in that, man. And again, that goes back to my point. As black men, we have no wiggle room. We have to do it all. You want to live in the bush? If you want to have that woman, you're going to have some comfort of life for her. You don't want to give her images of 1600s, 1700s living, fetching water and stuff like that. You want to make the you have to do everything. You have to, if that's what you want, and you want a woman, don't expect to find, not in this world, not in 2018. Well, you're going to find somebody that you find a good person though, but you're still going to have to provide the comforts of life to balance things out.
Well, a lot of women listening to this would also say, we're being male chauvinists, but just even speaking for women, I have a friend, she has 5 acres in Jamaica. I find the people that I'm meeting are people who are establishing this footprint. Once they saw me go up to the bush and said, "This is it," I'm like, wait a minute, that guy's not as crazy as I am. Uh-oh, he's going to the bush. When I met Mystic, my brethren, she has 5 acres and she's a barefooted, spiritual woman who will probably bring water on our head. So I think I have to be mindful of my words, because I'm realizing we might think that we are embarking upon this new route, but I think there's a lot of women in America who are realizing that the deception of success is not what it turned out to be. So there's a turning point and an awakening for me, and I'm sure for you. I'm 45, you're 43, and there's this awakening happening all over the world. And I think this calling for us to become ancestors, which means we're going to need to be trained on Jamaican soil to kind of, nurture the new Jamaica that has to happen. I'm focused on the new Jamaica. And the reason why I'm so focused on this new Jamaica without being selfish is because it has to be. It must be. This old bureaucracy, red tape, political maneuvering must come to an end. That's one of the reasons why I launched JamaicaRadio.com, because I intend to bring people like you together where we could have serious discussion and unite with other Jamaicans to really build new construct of government that have more of a shared, instead of a social, but a shared economical platform to disconnect us from this global blood-sucking Babylon loan system, So
Right.
it's like we have great minds and we have great listeners, and this is a great time for us to grow into our eldership. And I'm so happy that I find a man like you with your passion and your boots on the ground. I commend everything you're doing, brother. I'm fully support, because the woman, we're alpha males. And I'm a no joke, no head turning back kind of Manchestonian maroon. And my thing is, when I started SaveJamaica.com, my brother supported me. He said, "Oh, you're crazy." I quit the job, sleep out the door. I started Jamaica Radio. You're crazy. Who you think you is? We have Garvey ego. And Garvey ego is the best ego, because that's the only thing that's going to break us away from this condition of the trick success. And then we coming back to put our people into a new perspective of what life really is, So you didn't grow up in the country much, did you?
Oh, no. I'm a city boy. I lived in New York City, Baltimore City, and in D.C., the city. Yeah, even this was last 6 months since I moved out to West Virginia for the land. It's been a different thing, but yeah, and in Jamaica the same. When I go out there, I'm not staying at a guest house or at a hotel or nothing. I'm in the country, stay at my people's board house. I could, there's nothing for me to go to the guest house or nothing like that, but just want to experience, and get the empathy needed to continue to do the work.
So you would need some training how to use cursinile to be it after you have ticks on you, because there are certain protocols for living in the bush, and I could give you some tips, and the fellow Jamaicans could give you some tips, because now I grew up as a farmer, so the Randy you hear now is a Randy who actually grew up in the bush, so that's the passion to go back. So we are, coming from the city and you going back, brethren, it's what is the burning passion? Are you more on the organic side? What is it about the country that's pulling you in?
One is my mother's land, and it's something, you growing up in New York, New York has 5 boroughs. Jamaica's the 6th borough. It's like the Jamaican culture everywhere. The love for it. And that again, that's the nostalgic side, and then the other side being, it's the alternate I've been looking for. It's the opportunity in America. You have the way America was built was by pioneers. People that came from Europe, and this whole country was bush. Call it the wilderness of America. And they had a vision. They came from these countries in Europe and built this country into the greatest country in the world. And Jamaica is kind of like that in terms of there are great opportunities for development, and the Chinese see it. They see it and they're capitalizing on it. Here in America, there's so many regulations. You know how much paperwork you have to go through to start a business. So there are so many obstacles, and it's already kind of designed to where you have to already be rich just to be able to make more money. Like just to even start a restaurant, think of how many certificates and stuff you need to start a restaurant, and the money you have to pay and the equipment you have to buy and all of that stuff. And as a black man that wants to have something in life, this is a great opportunity to kind of start. We don't have a lot of generational wealth amongst ourselves as black people. In certain places, there are exceptions, but for the most part, in the Western Hemisphere, there's not a lot of generational wealth. And the land opportunity is a great opportunity to build generational wealth. Even though the land was in my family, it was about to drop off the radar and just be, squatter land. But, luckily my grandfather spoke at the time that he did. And, I had the passion to do it. And I'm trying to bring my family on board as well. So, it's not easy, but when you know the stories of the people that cultivated the Western Hemisphere from Europe, and you see all those movies, and you know the type of passion they want, and if you tap into the human spirit, then you can see the possibilities out of nothing. And as black men, we're definitely stronger, and we're definitely more talented. So there's an opportunity to create something better. Everybody's talking about this Black Panther movie and what we could build. Is the opportunities are there. You just need to see it with fresh eyes and really, to tap into that human part of you and of your soul that, really wants to have something for yourself, for your people, and to build something. There's such a gold mine there. If you think beyond, everybody wants to build a shop, everybody want to build this little bar, and I have family there, when they when they ask me for money to build something like that, I say, no, you got 1 million bars, you got abandoned bars, abandoned shops, let's think bigger, and the opportunity is there if you just apply yourself.
Wow, no, that's Big Heart on JamaicaRadio.com on the Rondi Pondy Radio program. I'm here listening to this fellow Jamaican, and I'm looking for another Jamaican that could speak as well and powerful as Big Heart. You guys gotta come serious now. I'm raising the bar. People are finding me who are boots on the ground. I love you Jamaicans. You talk a great deal, but here's a man who's making the transition, man. My hat's off to you, Big Heart. I mean, to find a man. Go ahead.
Last thing, I've traveled Africa. You go Kenya and Ethiopia. Kenya has 40 million people. Ethiopia has 90 million people. Both those countries, with a passion, love small Jamaica. 3 million people. The countries combined 130 million people in love with Jamaica, everything Jamaica. My ex-wife was Kenyan. She knew more reggae music than I did. Kenyans love Jamaica. Ethiopia, in the middle of the capital, is this like 20-foot tall Bob Marley statue. and I tell them my mother was Jamaican. They treat me like royalty. They love Jamaica. There's so much love out there for you. That's something that can be tapped into as well. You know, I tell people every time I'm going to Jamaica, I want to come, I want to come, I want to come, I want to come. You know, but I can't bring them because I'm on business a lot of times. But people love you. People love you, and there's a real opportunity as far as Jamaican branding and leveraging those resources. As far as countries that just out of just pure love, nothing in exchange, pure love for Jamaica.
Now, if you're looking for a wife to embark on this journey, send out the profile of the woman you're looking for. Hey, I know a lot of women say, Randy, can I get Big Heart's email? He's a smart guy, and, you know, to send out the profile, Big Heart.
No, I'm good on that one, man. I'm actually, you know, kind of courting somebody now, so, you know, it is what it is. You know, I'm good on that, you know, but, you know, nothing, Jamaican women, very beautiful. I love all black women. Black women are the best, number one, you know, that's what I have to say on that.
Big up. Now, as far as the videos, what would you like to see me do different or change? What would, as a viewer, what would you like to see different or improved upon?
I like, man, I love your channel. It's just like even just talking to the Uber driver, the truck driver, Mr. Hugh Prince today. It was just, you get a unique perspective, and it's very important to tap into the mind of the diasporans to connect to people back home. Just as, you know, and it's from a Jamaican, because they can tell me, no matter how many passport or nationalization paper you have, you're not a Jamaican, right? Mm-hmm. But for them, these are born Jamaicans, and they're given their God to honest. And I love to hear those stories. So on that front, you know, just keep tapping into that. Keep tapping into, you know, what resources they think and what's the good part for them. And for, you know, and on the other side, you know, continue to be a champion for, you know, we were talking earlier about what do they call this thing? There's a word for it now, but it's just scaremongering, you know, like, you know, keep bringing keep bringing the information that makes people more comfortable with home. Mm-hmm. Because there is crime, yes, but it's not a place that you should completely abandon. It's not so bad, you know. If you carry yourself a certain way, you don't, you know, like we say here, you don't carry yourself like a sucker, you know, you're not gonna get caught. You know, you're not gonna get caught up in nothing or nothing like that. And that's not, no offense to anyone that has experienced harm in Jamaica as well. You know, God rest the soul of that lady that was killed a few weeks ago or whatever. You're not saying she's a sucker or anything like that, but for the most part, you know, if you're not caught up into certain things, you increase your probability of not experiencing any harm or anything like that. So, you know, just talking up the good things that exist there, you know, bringing, you know, that's what people want to see, you know, just the goodness of the country that's still there. And, you know, the current trends and things of that nature, because, you know, as I was telling you before, you know, the Jamaican immigrants are like, it's like you think of it like a car. As soon as you drive a car off the lot, it loses a certain amount of value. As soon as you step out Jamaica, you know, Jamaica has changed. You're out of touch. So, you know, just, Jamaica changes daily. You know, the country that is today is not the same country 5 years ago when you left, or when you left 20 years ago. It's just not the same country. So just continue to bring that information in, that lets the diasporans know what's going on in the country. And that's it. That's it. You have a great platform, and I just want to see it successful, and then you just kept me motivated, because there are times when I don't want to go, you know, and you know, you just kind of gave me put the extra battery in my back to to continue doing what I'm doing, you know, because there's times that I just want to stop and slow down and do some other things, but this is definitely worth it.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. No, the next time I talk to you, because a part of our program is the solution ideas for Jamaica to improve it, and you being an insurance man, I want you to, the next time we talk, for you to start giving us some bullet points on insurance and the transition, getting older, or even just some understanding of insurance in America. You know, I like to talk to professionals and them to teach us what they know, a dummy proof, you know, for dummies insurance, so we could get our Jamaica. One of my vision was to really just have this forum where I call people and tell them, hey, tell me what you know in 1 hour. I want to know everything you know in 1 hour, because that's how we change a country, and that's how we uplift our people who are not in the know. The network that I'm building is a knowledge network for that new Jamaica I'm talking about, for that shared empowering knowledge network. Now, your process, your dates that are coming up for your movement with the land and your farm. Give me some, because we're going to check up on you, you know. Don't think you're just going to, a big, you're a big friend of mine, and you're a big friend of the people. You're a big heart. And I'm going to label this video, Meet Big Heart. You know, this man, I wish I could meet a lot more Jamaicans out there like you, who, you know, because it's so coincidental. We don't get to reason like this because we don't get to meet. We're always working, you know?
Right.
So, and then with different time zones and you know, just business of life. Once we start coming together, bro, once you start teaching us, because I need to know a lot more about Africa. You have that experience. Insurance, you have that experience. I have the media experience to help to market. If you build an Airbnb on your land, I'll be the first to send people, hey, you need to stay with this guy, you know? So, you know, expect me to call you and look to you for guidance as far as your knowledge. You know, you're part of a network that I dreamt of, where the people could succeed based on knowledgeable leadership. I've been in industries, been around the block, but I'm a service to the country, and I'm a service to the people, because our people work hard, whether they're myself, Kisco Bog, or them a farm, and they send us out there in America, not just to make money, but to come back home to teach them what we've learned, you know? So I really want to pick your brain on this insurance topic the next time around, Bridget.
Yeah, and hopefully I'll have some information. I'm actually looking into an insurance license in Jamaica, so I might have some information about that as well.
Yes. Big Heart, it's been a pleasure, my brethren.
Thank you, sir. Truly appreciate it. Keep up the good work, and big up to everybody that listens to.
All right, give thanks. We'll talk soon, very soon.
All right. Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Later. Give thanks.
All right.